Loading.
रिश्ते में तो हम तुम्हारे बाप होते हैं.
Well, Shabbat Shalom, mitro. Welcome back
smoothly चला
to
गया.
welcome back to podcast number 21 of Pops of Crypto. Quick update on the market. पहले तो मेरे साथ नरकुंडी, क्रिप्टो डैडी एंड रियलिस्ट आज वापस आ गए हैं और गुरुजी पता नहीं कहाँ हैं, पर आई होप कि आज नहीं तो कल वो भी आ जाएंगे हमारे साथ वापस. Anyways, quick update on the market. BTC is almost touching 90k. ETH has crossed 3k. Yani, this is
We're
a
back.
sort of
We're
we're back. Bull market back. Yeah. तुम लोग सही बोलो यार. लोग एकदम पागल हो रहे हैं. वो बोल रहे हैं कि बुल मार्केट आ गया है.
हाँ,
30% डाउन लेके 5% अप पे बुल मार्केट.
Yes.
short term memory है
Let's
बस.
flex our muscles.
Time for
told
those
you.
screenshots again, guys.
Yeah, अभी ऐसे स्क्रीनशॉट आएंगे इस चार्ट के.
Called it.
यहाँ पे ऐसे
I
ये
told
ऐसे
you,
line ऊपर जाएगी.
this is wave 3. We will touch this
Yes.
and we will go back
Yes.
up here.
एक तो ये स्टॉक मार्केट्स में ना एक्चुअली एलियट वेव थ्योरी इज वेरी प्रेवलेंट. तो अब
Yeah.
क्रिप्टो वाले भी लगाने लग गए.
Yeah. Oh my God, Elliot
What
wave
is
theory.
चाहिए ना basically. They're like, yeah, SMAs are boring, man. EMAs are boring. Bollinger Bands are boring. Like
Let's bring Elliott wave theory. That is the fad of this season.
Yes,
Yes.
Elliot
This
wave
season का
theory.
is Elliott wave.
पहली बार
Anyways.
सुन रहा हूँ नाम, but okay.
बस समझा दे यार, रियलिस्ट समझा दे नरकुंडी को. Or is it going to take a lot of time? बाद में लास्ट में समझाएंगे इसको.
Bro, it is going to take time.
Yes, it's going to take
Especially
time.
for Narkundi, yes.
Yes.
Oh.
Anyways, आज हम लोग बात करने वाले हैं CBDCs पे, which is Central Bank Digital Currencies. But उससे पहले please like, share, subscribe and turn your notifications on. और जिसने नहीं किया उसकी मम्मी जी को मैं बोलूंगा कि प्लीज अपने बच्चों को बोले कि सारे ये सब काम करें और आके हमारे पॉडकास्ट पे लाइक वाइक करें.
अरे तो वो
Anyways.
बोल देना अंडी मंडी शंडी जिसने सब्सक्राइब नहीं किया.
This is very adult stuff, bro. ऐसे नहीं बोल सकते. This is like family friendly podcast. Anyways, चलो भाई, सबसे पहले तो स्टार्ट करते हैं आज की ताजा खबर से. Since Narkundi has made me co-host, I can now share the thing myself. So
Yeah, because we bought the paid version of StreamYard, so guys, ये सब new features में है.
all
Thank you
right.
Narkundi for letting people know how broke.
I'm not only Narkundi is. Listen.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's seriously, bro.
It's okay.
Okay. ठीक है. सबसे पहली खबर भाई, आज US initial jobless claims थे. Expected था, estimated था about 226k and उससे नीचे आया, so 216k. जैसे कि हम बात कर रहे थे इस पे कि जो नेक्स्ट रेट कट होगा ऐसा नहीं हो कि फेड जो है करे बिकॉज द इकोनॉमी इज गोइंग बैड और जॉबलेसनेस बहुत आ रही है. तो दिस नंबर होपफुली रियलिस्ट इज अ बिट, क्या बोलते हैं कि एनकरेजिंग कि इतनी खराब भी हालत नहीं है इकोनॉमी की. एंड क्योंकि जॉबलेस नंबर्स जो है वो कम आ रहे हैं. इन्फ्लेशन नंबर्स आई एम गेसिंग कि थोड़े बहुत ऊपर आएंगे, बट
ऊपर ही आ रहे हैं अभी तो. सो अभी
वो 25 BPS.
I think jobless claims are trending upwards. The only thing is what's different from 2017 and 2021 is all through 17 and 21 jobless claims were going like this, right? And now jobless claims are here, but they're sort of inching upwards. So it's and while jobless claims are going down, because it's obvious, because money printer was on the upward trend,
Yes.
which is why everyone, like the economy was sort of hunky-dory. Right now it's a little bit different because you have jobless, even the jobless claims are at the trough at the bottom. But nobody knows whether it's going to start its next uptrend from here or not, or is it going to stay here, which is why people are a little iffy. And Ben Kaun also talks about this, which is why it's a little different. The economic conditions, like we discussed in our previous stream, are different this time.
And पिछले actually, I don't know if you were seeing like पुराने जो numbers आ रहे थे, उसमें वो बाद में भी revision कर रहे थे, जिसमें numbers क्या बोलते ज़्यादा हो जाते थे. I don't know इस बार इसके साथ होगा कि
I
नहीं.
think the actual thing to worry about right now are Japanese yields, dude. I think
Yeah.
that's something that is not doing the rounds right now.
Yes.
But we did discuss about this.
Yes.
I think a couple of days back, or maybe a week back, or something. But that's the one which is a bit concerning right now, because everyone sort of now, the reason why they're selling old bonds, which is why yields are rising, and because yields are rising, central bank follows yields. So central bank will now have to issue newer bonds at higher yields, which is how the spiral sort of
And
it's
they'll
about.
also will have to increase sort of a little bit of interest rates as well.
Yeah. So that's what. So if
Yeah,
repo rate
yeah.
increases, the yield will also increase
Yeah.
naturally. So newer bonds will be issued at higher interest rates. And I think, to be honest, this entire problem is actually started by the US, right? Because the US has been in a QT scenario, right? Which is why every central bank has to adjust itself, because by the end of the day, that's the reserve dollar, right? That's the reserve currency of the world.
Yeah.
Because, so, I mean, look at it from this perspective, right? There is a huge cash carry trade going on, but look at the people who were borrowing from the yen and investing in global markets, because global markets were in an upward trend, right? And because the money printer was on in the US, it made sense for people to sort of borrow from here, because people were sure that if the US rates are near zero, Japanese rates are also going to be at zero. So the only risk that you have is currency risk, right? But because US started QT, that is what created a frenzy, because now you're looking at a situation where I can anyway make a certain amount just by sort of, I can make maybe like 4.5%, 5%, or at a point of time it was 5.5%, 6% even, just by holding US treasuries. So people sort of dumping treasuries elsewhere, and unnecessary क्यों लेना ये currency risk, right? Let me just go and park money in the US. That was the psyche, which is why yields have been spiking up globally, because like I mentioned on a previous cast or stream, that yields of older bonds will spike if people sell it, right? Because the difference, because the interest that you're making on the face value is going up. Now, how does the spiral start? Because at that particular point of time, what happens is central banks have to keep on issuing new treasury assets. Now, if they're issuing new treasury assets, those treasury assets will have to be benchmarked with the current prevalent market yield, which is why newer ones will also be sort of issued at higher interest rates, thereby sort of pushing the yield higher and higher. So I think the Japanese crisis is what we need to look at. And people have been talking about this for a very, very long time. I think that bridge was, Ray Dalio has been talking about it from a very, very long time. But it's all been started by the US. But I somehow feel if the US goes into full-blown QE mode, now there's something that Japan needs to deal with right now. Sorry, I'm deviating a bit, but Japan now needs to deal with either a recession. They have to accept that it's a recession and they don't have no other option but to raise interest rates so that currency doesn't start flocking out. But it's a little strange, because people were earlier sort of borrowing in the yen anyway, and money was anyway sort of moving out, but they're now trying to hold money in. So I don't get that entire situation. But again, it's central bank mathematics. But what they now need to look at is either they have to accept that they are going into a recession, or they have to accept higher inflation, right?
I think they
have to accept 3 to 5% inflation right now, which is something that the US is coming to terms with. Like now, the US days of 0% inflation are gone. For them, 2 to 3% is going to be the new norm. But I kind of feel if the US now goes, I think the world is soon going to shift to this mechanism, is that high inflation is here to stay. Fuck it, let's open the printers. And the moment the US starts printing, I think Japan will also start stabilizing, and they'll start lowering down their interest rates again. But that's the thing to focus on right now. Not jobless claims, nothing else. I mean, I think that is I mean, like we discussed earlier, unless or until the 2-year bond doesn't breach a particular mark, we don't need to worry. That's what I had said in a previous,
what is that mark according to you?
I kind of feel that mark
अभी क्या
was
3.96% चल रहा है ना कितना?
Abhi, I think it's at 1.9, 1.9%.
अच्छा 1.9%.
Yeah, I think it's inching more and more towards that 2% mark. I had mentioned that 2% is the spot to sort of get worried. And the moment Japan in its December Fed meet increases interest rates, newer bonds will automatically get repriced. So if
Got
that 2% mark gets breached, I think that's going to become a point of at least
Hmm.
concern, and not, I don't mean systemic concern, because the world has already faced an Asian financial crisis, right? Which was back in the 80s
Yeah.
and 90s, right? Same things don't repeat themselves in the markets. What the markets essentially do is, when they have an old event and they see something new which matches historical facts, they quickly discount that because they know how to
Countermeasures, yeah.
discount it now. The
Yeah.
market hates uncertainty, right? That's what the market hates. So if these things are not uncertain things, to be honest, I mean, an interest rate crisis is not an uncertain thing because the market knows how to discount it. So even at 2%, if we hit that mark, I think the market is going to discount that sort of an event very, very quickly.
Got it. ठीक है भाई. Next, yeah, Texas became the first US state to buy Bitcoin, like for its strategic reserve. So I'm guessing कि other states may or may not follow suit, but yeah, US it's themselves haven't announced कि from like a federal point of view कि strategic reserve बनाएंगे Bitcoin का. Initially उसकी बहुत बात हुई थी, but I don't think they're doing it. But as a state, Texas is just invested $10 million. So let's see.
I think one of the
Yeah.
senators, they had said that let people pay their taxes in Bitcoin, and that will effectively become a treasury.
I think
of sorts.
that already has implemented in one of those states also, that they're making the people pay taxes in BDC or something. ऐसा कुछ चल रहा है किसी एक state में. I don't recall which one, but there was one
I
state
don't
that
really
approved.
see the logic sort of
Yeah, but
behind
then,
it.
yeah, exactly. I mean, that's not, in one way, yeah, it could be, but it's, I mean, it will be such nominal amount, it won't really affect, it won't be enough to create a strategic reserve as
Not
such.
just that, Bitcoin's price is fluctuating, right? And
Yeah,
they use those tax payments to obviously pay for like other stuff. So अगर वो price ऊपर नीचे होगी उसकी तो
exactly. I don't think that's the case, no.
yeah. Next, yeah. अरे तुम्हें मालूम था कि सैम ऑल्टमैन गे है? अब मुझे नहीं
Yeah,
मालूम था
yeah.
ये बात.
Yeah,
Married to a dude.
yeah. It's old news. He has a
Yeah,
husband. He
yeah.
also has a kid.
तो उसका एक्स बॉयफ्रेंड है. उसके साथ क्या हुआ कि रॉबर्स केम इनटू हिज हाउस, दे फकिंग टाइड हिम अप एंड पुट अ गन टू हिज हेड. उसके प्राइवेट कीज लिए सारे और ड्रेन्ड हिम आउट ऑफ
Whoa.
ETH एंड BTC वर्थ $11 million.
Wow.
Yeah, and this is like more and more like happening around the world, like where people
Yeah,
are
yeah. I
France.
think
getting
this is the
targeted.
third or fourth incident that I'm hearing about, yeah.
Yeah. SEC has announced that they are going to discuss corporate governance and tokenized equity rules on December 4. So tokenized equities basically up tokenized versions of stocks और ये सब खरीद पाओगे. I guess exchanges पे या और भी platforms पे जो offer करेंगे.
Yeah. So I think the corporate
Yeah.
governance aspect that they're looking to discuss right now is how will shareholder rights be exercised? Because if you're sort of trading, so let's assume that 10% of an entire company's free float has been tokenized. So that effectively means 10% will be held in a particular custodian with a
Yeah.
particular custodian, right? And against that, you could probably have 1 million holders in the on-chain world, in the cryptoverse, as Ben Cohen calls it. So how will those people be able to exercise their shareholder voting rights, because they're effectively shareholders as well, just that they're tokenized? And how will their dividends sort of start getting accrued?
इस
And
पे मैं एक और चीज देख रहा था कि वो इवन द कस्टोडियंस या जो इशुअर्स हैं उन पे भी कुछ कुछ रिस्क आ जाता है ये करने में, बिकॉज द मार्केट्स आर सॉर्ट ऑफ ये मार्केट जो टोकनाइज्ड वर्जन्स होंगे दे विल बी लाइक ट्रेडिंग 24/7
24/7, yes.
या एंड इफ देयर इज लाइक अ बिग सॉर्ट ऑफ फॉल और ये तो उसमें उनका रिस्क बढ़ जाता है, so they have to cover
100%.
that, like yeah. Yeah, another news. Yeah, कल के ETF flows were all positive. BTC 128 million, ETH 78 million, Solana 53 million, and XRP 35 million. Like obviously for the last week or two, we were having all negative flows. So उसके बाद ये अब थोड़ा starting to become positive now. Paxos has sort of acquired New York-based DeFi wallet ForDeFi for $100 million. तुमने सुना है क्या ForDeFi के बारे में? Have you like I haven't even heard of ForDeFi. Like
I mean, and to be honest, we know of Paxos, but like, who the fuck uses Paxos anyway, right? Who uses their stablecoin?
Yes, they're probably doing like उनका वो भी है ना, वो Pax Gold, which is
Yeah.
like
वो
tokenized
वही है
gold.
वो tokenized gold.
I don't know
Yeah.
how much volume they have on that, but
Yeah, barely.
uh,
I think
yeah,
ADT Gold has, sorry, ADT Gold, कह रहा हूँ. I think XAUT, I think the Tether version of gold probably
Tether Gold, yeah,
has decent volume. Nothing as compared to
yeah.
USDT, but yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
By the way,
these
did you guys see that news where DMCC Abu Dhabi, Dubai, they made the largest block of silver. It was a Guinness record, and they're basically going to
yeah,
tokenize it and have
Wow,
people
yeah,
access to fractals of it. Yeah.
pretty
yeah.
cool. Very cool.
हाँ, ये $100 million पे है कि अगेन दीज आर थिंग्स आर लाइक बीइंग लाइक सो मच ओवर वैल्यूड. लाइक हम नाम भी नहीं सुना, आप $100 million की वैल्यूएशन है फॉर
Yeah.
समवन like Paxos to pay it. I mean, it's not making any sense though.
खुद की कंपनी
Polymarket
होगी यार 45 की.
हो सकता है probably. Polymarket को US markets के लिए like CFTC approval मिल गया है, so intermediate
Nice.
access they'll get. I'm guessing कि this is कलशी के लिए bad news to be honest, but yeah. Oh
Gambling
dude, ये मैंने
floodgates open.
आज मैंने ये देखा,
Gone to 100 million.
Sonic TVL has dropped to 100 million.
90% down
Again,
from. Oof.
the other day, I guess like हम बात कर रहे थे जब 200 million आ गया था, अब 100
Yeah.
million पे आ गया. I mean, this
Damn.
is like, yeah, I don't know though, like
क्या
the
chart है ये?
future, yeah, and the future, it's looking like not looking good for Sonic, to be honest. They started a US entity और ये सब also कि हम US में काम करेंगे and we'll raise money over there, but I guess that also didn't work.
या बीच में कुछ
Anyways,
रूमर्स आ रहे थे कि
But then,
लाइक सोनिक का ETF में भी इंक्लूड होने वाला है या
वो
like
तो rumor, वो तो
nothing
the entire
substantiated.
city is a bloody rumor mill.
Yeah, it's
ऐसे
like
ऐसे
yeah,
न्यूज आते हैं, तुम्हारी सोच है उस पे तो.
जो भी
Today
बैच
only I
होल्डर्स हैं
think
वो लोग.
we एक न्यूज चल रही थी कि Vitalik is selling ETH from his Genesis first time pulled out from his Genesis
या
wallet.
वाइटालिक बेच रहा है, अपना ईद बेच रहा है और
$2.3
पूरे
million
उसके
उसने भेज दिया.
yeah.
The CD
Like,
is a
listen,
pure rumor mill. So.
even if Vitalik is selling or the Ethereum Foundation is selling, it is in their sort
Right
of
to do
governance,
so.
not just right कि उनके उसमें है कि हम बेचेंगे to cover company costs, ये वो
Exactly, bro.
so
They
that is
can.
not like
Yeah,
really,
but
and they've been doing it all this while.
But let me tell you, despite all this while, I think Ethereum's inflation rate is even lesser than BTC's, by the way. Yeah. Despite all of this, despite the fact that it's selling, etc.
Obviously
So-
they do it like very sort of सही
and
सही
that's
तरीके
smart,
से.
करना भी चाहिए. Once
Yeah.
Vitalik had said, dude, we are securing $300 billion of assets, right?
Yeah.
तो तुम क्या चाहते हो, मैं ये $10,000 में कर दूं ये सारा काम? तो $10,000 में वो $10,000 जो कारपेंटर से ही करवाना पड़ेगा मेरे को.
Yeah.
इतने पैसे में इतना ही मिलेगा.
और आ भी गया ना कि all the
कील ठोक रहा है वहां पे आके.
और ये सब आया भी है ना कि बैंक्स और ये सब को अलाउड है कि आप ये जो गैस फीस के लिए ईथ वीथ और जो भी आप रख सकते हो टू पे ऑफ. तो ऑब्वियसली दे गोना मेक लाइक millions if not billions in gas fees, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
This is just random FUD, dude. This is classic CD FUD. Yeah.
No evidence
CD is
needed,
like
बस
the
tweet
rumor.
निकालो.
It's the rumor mill, man. Anything एक कोई post कर
Exactly,
देता है
right?
and then
It's like,
everybody's following it. Yeah.
कल जो वही बात कर रहे थे ना कि even
Doge
Reuters
का.
is not like कि
No time to
posting
verify. Tweet निकालो.
कोई वेरीफाई नहीं कर रहे, बस ट्वीट निकाल दो कि डोज बंद हो गया, फिर डोज वाले ट्वीट कर रहे हैं कि नहीं भाई ये तो रॉयटर्स फेक न्यूज़ है.
नहीं फिर ना बाद में क्लैरिफिकेशन इशू कर दो, वी आर सॉरी, बट जो ओरिजिनल ट्वीट है उसके लाइक 10 times more views आएंगे.
I mean that is sort of the trend also these days, right? कि
Yeah.
आप पे जो
बात वही है ना, परमिशन लेने से अच्छा है कि सॉरी बोल दो बाद में.
So एक तो most of the people they get their news from social media, right? X is like the number one news app across the world now.
Right now, yes.
पहले मैं जाता भी था कि दूसरी वेबसाइट्स पे I'm guessing कि sort of NDTV या किसी टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया की वेबसाइट पे जाके मैं न्यूज़ पढ़ रहा था. अब मैं पूरी X से ही लेता हूँ. I'm guessing कि you guys also pretty much do the same.
Yeah.
Times of India
And
का
then
website खोल के
then
देख,
those
it's only
news
banners.
are whatever news is there. उसके नीचे जाओ तो somebody has asked, Grok, is this true? And you get to know.
I think community notes are brilliant, right? Because
Excellent, bro. They're excellent.
because you have this filter, because on mainstream media you don't know what's fake and what's not, because there's no reader note, there's no community note there. At least on X, yeah, there is this huge funnel where crap is also coming through, but the filter is pretty strong. So
and now X obviously like हमने बात की कि एक तो वो country of origin उन्होंने डाल दिया X accounts पे, plus plus वो भी है कि if someone has put up a doctored photo, it will automatically detect that and नीचे आ जाएगा disclaimer में कि sort of this is like a doctored photo, it's not original. तो वो भी एक चीज है जो लोग morph AI से morph करके डाल
ये सब
रहे
होना
थे.
चाहिए यार. भाई लोग तो I mean, I don't know how many of you know, मेरे भाई लोग तो मेरा डॉक्टर वीडियो लेके वीडियोस भी सर्कुलेट कर चुके हैं. मतलब ये सब भी हो चुका है मेरे साथ.
Really? I didn't know that. Okay.
I'm pro this.
क्या कर रहा था
I'm pro this move. ये सब डेफिनेटली होना चाहिए. ये सब
कोई मेरे वीडियोस नहीं लेता है, क्या है ये?
Narkundi is feeling left out, bro.
मैं
खुद ही alt accounts बना के
not
करूंगा
for like
guys.
dirty shit. It's basically for scammy shit. So yeah, आप क्या बोल सकते हैं?
नरकुंडी तेरी वीडियोस जो है वो दूसरी प्लेटफॉर्म्स पे होंगे, इधर नहीं होंगे.
मैं खुद ही डालूंगा. Guys, who is this? Stop करो please यार.
अच्छा चलो भाई, आज हम बात कर रहे हैं CBDCs के बारे में and let's start with Narkundi on this. Narkundi was telling me कि how much he loves CBDCs and what they are and पूरी हमें स्टोरी सुनाएगा. जल्दी बता दे भाई, और बैठा दे, ये पूरे सेक्टर ही बैठा दे तू CBDCs का कि कोई भी कंट्री लॉन्च ही नहीं कर पाए.
अच्छा, when did I tell you I love CBDC?
I don't know, ऐसा मुझे ख्वाब में है.
Oh, you are so risk averse. I mean, that's the perfect thing for you.
Yeah,
ख्वाब में भी
CBDCs
मैं ही आ रहा हूँ, और कोई आ सकता था बट मैं ही आया. चलो.
It just goes to show how sad my life is, right?
यार क्या करें, it's okay.
ठीक है.
अच्छा, so we're discussing on CBDC versus stablecoin. So
पहले तो ये बता दे लोगों को सिंपल टर्म्स में, एंड प्लीज डोंट गो लाइक
CBDC होता क्या? हाँ.
क्या CBDC होता है, क्या है?
Okay, so CBDC is just your central bank backed currency. Stablecoins is the opposite of that. That there is no central bank that is backing it. So crypto mein stablecoins rule because obviously it's created more liquidity when you want to trade, let's say BTC against ETH. Dono ki prices fluctuate ho rahi hain. So at least when you say BTC versus US dollar and that USDT stays at a fixed price, $1, it helps a lot because you can at least make a trade knowing that, okay, this is the price that I'm paying for. CBDC is governments catching up to how much volume we're seeing on the stablecoin side. So already stablecoins have about 300 billion.
So now governments are digital rupee, digital dollar, or ye jo.
Yeah, so these are late, I would say, and it always happens that regulation tries to catch up with technology wherever, and this is them trying to come late to the party and trying to solve a problem jo already private participants ne solve kar diya. Like for China, they have digital yuan, but I was reading about it. It has less than 0.1% of the total payments, and that's because WeChat, Alipay is already over there. So, if everyone is already used to something, what's the additional benefit? That
India
CBDC
also has a CBDC.
No, they're launching.
India
one,
also has, yes.
They're launching one.
It's called e-rupee.
It's called
e-rupee, right?
See, the thing is, they might be late to the party. I feel ki in terms of trading or ye exchanges pe, but day-to-day use mein they will.
Yeah, so they're not really. I don't think I mean, we'll get into this, but CBDCs are not really for catching up with crypto.
कौन सी countries ने ये तो बता कि ये launch कर दिया है या they already piloting?
So 41 countries have launched some version of this in a pilot form. You have EU, which is working on digital version, but that's obviously EU as a whole. US is against CBDC, so that's only from Trump administration, which said that, okay, they don't want to stifle innovation from private sector, against CBDC, against government having this much control on money. You have countries like Japan, Thailand, Hong Kong, even in Africa, Nigeria, Ghana. But one of the other concerns that happens with CBDC, and I know others like Realist and Tony, they'll expand on it. I was checking it. Not all of them are on distributed ledgers. So some of them are using a hybrid, and some of them are having purely on centralized tech, which means that it's coming from one particular server. So if the government decides that, whatever money you had in your wallet, tomorrow it can say, nope, this is blocked. You cannot access your own money. or this is invalid. So there are concerns that CBDC brings, which so far, in USDT, USDC, which that's what they've made it easier. Okay, if you're staying within crypto itself, cool, move around freely, use it on DeFi, use it for trading, etc. That's, I think, the initial concern that I see so far.
Got it. Realist, एक तो मैं इसके बारे में पढ़ रहा था, तो there's something called like retail CBDCs and wholesale CBDCs, और इसके architecture में भी there's like single tiered and two tiered. तो इसके बारे में थोड़ा expand on this, please.
Retail CBDCs are when the central bank issues a CBDC, so a central bank digital currency. That's what it is, right? They directly issue it. They handle the distribution of it. You are straight away interacting with the central bank, so to speak, right? So you have maybe like ECNY. I think Nigeria also has one, or then e-rupee is definitely there, right? And so those are retail CBDCs where the central bank is directly
e-rupee भी retail होगा.
So e-rupee is also retail because technically it's been distributed to the general public, etc. Right? So anything that the general public is using and the central banks are sort of directly managing everything, that's single-tiered retail, right? Single tier, there is no intermediary. You're directly interacting with the central bank, and retail is basically it's used by the general public. Wholesale, on the other hand, is when the central bank says that, you know what, I don't want regular users to use it, but I want banks to sort of use it for interbanking settlements, right? So, for example, tomorrow a SWIFT could come up and say that, you know what, I'm going to use wholesale CBDCs to settle transactions between us. So it's not really going, but हमारे account में normal dollar ही दिख रहा होगा, but they'll sort of use. So, I mean, if you look at it, to be honest, blockchain is nothing but an efficient version of how the banking system is working today, right? Yeah. And by efficient, I mean it's an immutable ledger, so to speak, right? It's like a distributed ledger, so to speak. There's nothing else in blockchain. Everything else is, smart contracts are a different thing altogether. But if you look at the core architecture of cryptography and blockchains, it's essentially a distributed ledger. So in this case, wholesale CBDCs which are used by large institutions, like maybe a BIS can use it, which is I think the Bank of International Settlements or something like that, right? SWIFT can use it. Or maybe like a Western Union uses it for their sort of interbanking transfers. That's wholesale CBDC. Retail CBDCs, people like you and I using it. Single tiered, like I mentioned while I was explaining retail CBDCs, is when the central bank is directly interacting and managing everything. They are managing the distribution, they are managing the issuance, everything. Two-tiered is what the e-rupee is. I can talk about the e-rupee because I've seen it closely. In case of the e-rupee, the central bank says, "Yaar, main bas mint karunga." I am just managing, like I'm a central bank, right? So you and I don't interact with the RBI. You and I interact with a private commercial bank, right? Or a non-banking financial corporation. Yeah. Now in this case, a two-tiered structure is the central bank says, "Yaar, dekho, मैंने mint करके banks को दे दिया, मैंने bank A को दे दिया, मैंने bank B को दे दिया, and banks A and B will then carry on the distribution, etc., the wallets, etc., whatever that needs to be done, accounts, वगैरह, they will manage it with the end user." So in a single-tiered version, the central bank is managing everything. In a two-tiered version, central bank is doing central bank ka kaam, and the distributors, the commercial banks are doing their work. And like I mentioned, retail is regular users, you and I using it. Wholesale is wholesale people using it, right? Like large commercial institutions. One thing that Narkundi also mentioned that if a CBDC is involved, technically your money can go away overnight, but that's technically 99% of all money, right? All our money today is centrally owned, right? I mean, if the governments decide that
to freeze your account, they will do it.
We won't have this money tomorrow, right? And another very important point so technically everything is a central bank currency. Everything is a CBC. CBDC is CBC ke beech mein
digital laga diya,
right? Nothing, there's zero difference. आज के दिन में अगर सारे transactions हमने blockchain पे डाल दिए, वो CBDC बन जाएगा. Nothing else. There's zero difference with the transaction that we are carrying out right now, because I mean, I can speak from an India perspective. I don't know, like, I mean, I'm pretty sure there's still a large population which transacts in cash, but I don't remember the last time I held a rupee note in my hand here, because you don't
खत्म ही हो रहा है, वो तो Paytm ही use करते हैं आजकल आधे से. Paytm, UPI या रुपए.
सब्जी वाला, पान वाला, everybody is using digital methods.
They prefer
right? So imagine all of this all of this being recorded on a blockchain, it will become a CBDC. So today on a digital front, I honestly, I didn't see the need for an e-rupee altogether. Because I don't know, maybe e-rupee has lesser costs because when they're using maybe like other digital means of transactions, there is probably, because just for example, I can see one benefit maybe, and the people who are sort of in the system can sort of highlight it more. But एक चीज हो सकता है, if I use like a Visa or a MasterCard to make payments, they charge a fee, right? And that can become actually a big fee for even a merchant, so to speak, right? And वो bypass हो जाता है e-rupee से. But UPI वही करता है. UPI is direct bank-to-bank settlement, zero cost to it, right? There is still some charge to UPI transactions which the government has now introduced. I'm sure those are real charges which they must be incurring. But वो तो मेरे हिसाब से e-rupee में भी होगा, because उसमें भी तुम्हें सर्वर चलाने पड़ेंगे, उसमें भी तुम्हें नोट्स चलाने पड़ेंगे. So वो मुझे समझ में नहीं आया, because India does not need e-rupee and bullshit, because UPI already है. In the US, it made sense because US में digital transactions were not as advanced, right? Today, India accounts for, I think, 46% of all digital transactions globally, right? India alone accounts for that much. मतलब लगभग आधा मान लो, half the digital transactions of the entire world are happening in India.
Wow.
Right? Yeah, so that's a big number. So now the US had not caught up to it. So for them, mobile-to-mobile transactions using MetaMask to MetaMask is fantastic. Well, in India, we are doing that with actual money instead of relying on a newly created money such as USDT, right? We are doing that with our actual bank accounts. The other thing in the US is, and I see the reason why Trump is sort of against making their own CBDC, because let's face it, I don't mean to fund a USDT or a USDC. They're all essentially central bank controlled, because 99% of their assets are held in US treasuries, so which is effectively controlled by the central bank, right? So I would essentially call this a two-tiered structure, right? Where they are controlling the treasury, 99% of the assets. And the Genius Act tells you that you have to hold it in risk-free assets, which are US treasuries, right? Nothing else you can't hold it in, right? You can't like hold your assets in Bitcoin. You have to hold them in US treasuries. So
आज S&P ने डाउनग्रेड कर दिया ना उसको, क्या बोलते हैं, टेदर को. नहीं, टेदर का स्टॉक डाउनग्रेड कर दिया because a lot of their holdings
टेदर या सर्कल
का डाउनग्रेड,
सर्कल
हो सकता है. So that is essentially controlled by the central bank, and it's a two-tiered structure, like I just mentioned. Tether is managing the distribution, etc., and everything. So there is not much difference, so which is why I can and Tether is today, like we discussed in a previous stream, it's probably the most efficiently run financial institution in the world today, right? One that easily trumps something like a Goldman Sachs also, right, in terms of net profits. So it makes sense for Trump not to enter. The countries which are exploring stuff like this are the countries which don't have something like a USDT, because they don't have their treasuries backing any stable coin. And they've understood the game that the US can print infinite money just by moving to tokenized dollar, synthetic dollar. They are using existing dollar to mint more debt. It's like a CDP squared, right? So I think that's how it is. So very important point that Nirkoti mentioned, that US is not looking at it, but others are, because there's a reason why. Right, and the reason is it's anyway a CBDC, and I personally use Tether. I don't mean to put on them, but definition wise, first principles definition wise, it's a CBDC, which is a two-tiered CBDC technically.
Got it. Crypto Addy, iske obviously we've gotten a little bit into the cons of it, but pros and cons दोनों बता दे कि CBDCs अच्छे क्यों हैं और बुरे क्यों हैं.
अच्छा यार, एक तो चीज पहले, so when we talk about CBDCs, right, we have to understand that CBDC is not something that is just come up, right? It's not a conversation that we're just having. So CBDC has been in conversation for the past, I would say, 5, 6, 7 years now, right? उस वक्त से बात चल रही है CBDCs की, and at that time it made a lot more sense, like how Realist said that, abhi you already have Treasure, which is like a two-tiered CBDC in essence, right? And again, when you look at countries like India, right? So I would say a lot of countries, not just India, a lot of countries in the Southeast, in the South Asia. So you have Bangladesh, Pakistan, and then certain countries in Africa, South America, Brazil, right? These countries have extremely advanced banking systems, right? And when I say banking systems, I mean, peer-to-peer payment, mobile payments, stuff like that. So Brazil, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, they all have already been way ahead in terms of how they're managing that. compared to the Western world, right? So, like for example, today, if you're in Europe and if you go to a town which is in Italy, which is not like Rome, or if you go to some small city, right? There, even credit card payments are a little difficult, right? Like the stores are going to tell you to give them cash, right? They prefer cash compared to credit card because they don't want to pay the merchant fee that they're charged on the credit card. And in essence, at that point in time, it made sense to have a conversation about CBDCs at that point in time. And I think EU is pretty. It's a different ball game altogether. They are pretty laid back, pretty back. I would say they're way back in terms of technology across their portfolios. Anyways, so CBDC at that point in time, the pros were, yes, you could have faster payments. Central bank could issue a digital currency, and then they could basically sort of control your AML. You can have KYC over whoever is holding that currency. The concept was this, right? That everybody who's holding CBDCs would be KYC'd. Any transaction that is there on the ledger, so you basically sort of eliminate AML altogether. And it sort of cleans out your entire financial system. And then if tomorrow they want to add in interest rates, reduce interest rates, it's easier for them. If they want to pay out stimulus, they can do that easily. Or if they really want to just freeze accounts based on certain criteria that they set, or based on any kind of delinquencies, they could have just set that up and they can freeze your account, which they can do now. But now it's not that easy. Yes, they can freeze now, governments can freeze now, but there is a legality behind it. With CBDC, it becomes a lot more easier because you don't have tiers, especially with if you're talking about tier 1 setup, you don't have any intermediary in between.
Correct.
And then the discussion came into between. Okay, if we put in a tier 2 intermediary in between, right? Then what happens? Then the CBDC concept fails, because then you have the same risk that you have with banking right now, where you have banks that are getting individuals without KYC across the world who are, participating in the AML and then get fined later on. They're okay with it. So that whole security and the whole KYC sort of meant that it was focused completely on the intermediary, which is your banking or your financial institutions. So right now, when we look at CBDCs, what are the pros? Well, the pros is only one thing, that you could have faster transactions, reduce cost on your transactions, but then what is the point? Because your banking and your technology has grown so much over the last 5-6 years across the world that it doesn't really make sense anymore. The only thing there is, and that's a huge backlog or a drawdown that people talk about CBDCs, is that it controls your freedom, basically. So everything you're doing with CBDC gets on the ledger. So a lot of people are not comfortable with that. Tomorrow they want to, and it comes into a really long argument that if you're using CBDC to consume everything that you're using, be it your electricity, your water, your consumables, everything, right? Then basically the government can then push whatever they want, because they know your spending habits, they know what you're doing, and they can literally divert you or move you into the direction that they want to move you to. And that is sort of move you into a herd mentality sort of thing. And that is the whole FUD around CBDC, which is the main con that most people see, that it's more of control rather than making everybody's life.
अभी तू अपने अकाउंट से ऐसे कुछ खरीद रहा है, तो वो अगर अथॉरिटीज को भेजना है, तो they first have to put in a request to a bank, and then the bank will sort of
Give
ask
them
you
that
for
information.
compliance, and then you क्या बोलते हैं, आप भेजोगे वो आप भेजेंगे, पर इसमें उनके पास डायरेक्टली ये ऑलरेडी
They
देख
have
रहे हैं
all
कि
the information with you, right?
नरकुंडी
Exactly.
ने किस को ओनली फैंस पे सब्सक्राइब किया हुआ है, वो सब उनको पता लग जाएगा.
Exactly. Scamming him would be a lot more easier for them.
Yeah. Fine. Got it. All right. काफी अच्छा डिस्कशन था, and I guess आज हमने काफी जल्दी कर लिया. So yeah, anything else to add from the three of you?
No, not from my side. I think we're good with it.
Market कहाँ पहुंची यार?
Keep looking at TVL to MCAP ratios of good tokens. That's it.
And keep an eye on the 98K BTC mark.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I know that's an important mark, but like ecosystem TVL on Ethereum today is 329 billion. Its market cap is 350 billion. It's trading at exactly the same value as the value it's sort of securing.
Yeah,
so it's very strange. Yeah, it's very. Imagine any company in the world trading at balance sheet. This is balance sheet right now.
Yeah. कम से कम like 2.5 3x 4x तो at the very least होना ही चाहिए इसकी
यार
valuation
2x तो कहीं नहीं गया यार
2x
कहीं
होना
नहीं
चाहिए
गया
at least. हाँ,
हाँ,
exactly.
2x तो कहीं कहीं नहीं गए that's
कहीं
the
नहीं गया
bare
yes
minimum that's the
yeah
bare minimum peak bull market sort of things are sort of वही 2.5 3 times
2.5
that's what
3
happens
yeah
during peak bulls but yeah let's see
let's see
if the
Guys,
markets are kind enough
I have a question back on stablecoins.
okay
How
yeah
many stablecoins do we need? DeFi Llama pe there are more than 300 stablecoins.
yeah but
USDT has
check in terms of
65%
volumes
share.
right check in terms of volumes
yeah
Yeah.
वॉल्यूम क्या USDT USDC पे ही होगी सबसे ज्यादा तो
Yeah,
हाँ
के
DTDC में होगा स्टेबल कॉइन ट्रांजैक्शंस आर रफली अबाउट 70-80 बिलियन डॉलर्स अ डे उसका मेरे ख्याल से 85% शेयर तो ये
DT और
टेलर
DC.
और सर्कल के पास ही
USDT
होगा
60%, USDC 24%, USDE from Athena is 2.4%. 75% gone in between three.
या
तो
दैट्स
इसके
इट
तो ये 75% बाकी 25% किसके पास है
होगा
बाकी
In
जो है ना
between
वो
everybody.
ब्रिज वो होते हैं ना वो हर चेन के अपने वो होते हैं ना
PayPal
स्टेबल
has, DAI hai.
हाँ वो
डाई
So
एंड ऑल ऑफ
PYUSD है ना
दीज
PYUSD है काफी है ये काफी सारे
काफी
हाँ
है
इस तरह के सो दे जस्ट स्टक ऑन
But
दैट
are people like actually transacting with those? Like, I mean,
नो
not
आइडिया
really, right? Yeah, but
नो
इसका
आइडिया
होगा एक अपने XRP वालों का
XRPL
RLUSD
है RLUSD हाँ
RLUSD है ना तो वो भी हो रहा होगा चलो
how
ठीक है
much is that?
आज के लिए बहुत थैंक यू एवरीवन फॉर जॉइनिंग इन प्लीज लाइक शेयर सब्सक्राइब रिंग द बेल आइकन
अरे कितनी
एंड
बार बोलेगा यार?
ये वही बोलना है मैंने देखा एक वीडियो तूने भेजा था उसमें उसने बोला कि बार बार आपको बोलते रहना है ये बात बोलते रहना
Or we
जब
won't
तक लोग
continue
करें
with.
नहीं जब तक आप
और
करें हाँ
और इस तरह बोलना है कि मेक श्योर यू रिंग द बेल आइकन अदरवाइज यू विल मिस आवर कंटेंट
यस
नहीं तो ये करना पड़ेगा अंडी वंडी झंडी
Yeah. All right. See you guys. See you tomorrow.
See you guys.
Bye.
Right.
Adios.
Bye.